So in April 2020, as the pandemic started to spread, I looked at my numbers at my franchise stores and I saw that our sales were down 30% in both my store in California and my store in Florida. So we went from doing $37,000 in sales a month in one store to $27,000 in sales a month. That's a $10,000 drop. And $43,000 in sales a month to $30,000 in sales in 1 month. Now, let me put this in perspective. This was a major problem, but I'll get back to that in just a second. I'm going to tell you how that played out.
21st century, doing something mean to it. Do it better than anybody you ever seen do it. Screams from the
But if you're new here, my name is Tarek Johnson. I've owned multiple franchise locations, and I wound up leaving a high six-figure job and building a multi-million-dollar franchise business across locations in California and in Florida. And look, I know how confusing, scary, and overwhelming the journey can be in trying to make the transition from being an employee to entrepreneur. I've been there, I've done it multiple times. It's terrifying, and quite frankly, it doesn't always work. So I have a ton of videos on my channel all about owning businesses, owning franchises, mistakes to avoid, questions to ask, pros and cons, and then videos all about creating success and wealth through business ownership. So if you get value out of these videos, make sure to subscribe down below, and let's jump in. All right, so let's get back to the story. So imagine for a second a drop of 30% in sales. Now, unless you have a really high profit margin, that means you're probably going to be losing money. And that's exactly what happened to us. Now, did we recover? Yes. Now, believe it or not, we actually wound up finishing 2020 up about 5% in sales for the year compared to 2019. And that was with factoring in the drop in April of 30%, which means all the other months, most of the other months, our business was actually up. So then why would I sell my business? Well, I have a number of clients that I coach, and they come to me because they want to transition from what they're doing now, whether an employee or some sort of business that they own, to owning a franchise and becoming a business owner in some other business. Now, many times we'll actually look at existing businesses for sale, and my clients will ask me, why would someone sell a business that's making money? It doesn't make sense. At least that's what they think. Now, the first time I got the question, I thought, well, duh, doesn't everyone know why people sell businesses? But after I got that same question multiple times from different clients, I realized it's actually a really good question. I mean, if I hadn't bought and sold businesses myself, I'd probably wonder the same thing. Now, here's the thing. People sell a business for a lot of different reasons. They could be retiring, they have health issues, they're burned out and exhausted, they aren't running the business well and it's not growing. I mean, believe it or not, there are some bad business owners out there, and there are some really good businesses and just some really bad business owners, and they're not good at running and managing their business. Sometimes they don't want to manage and deal with employees anymore, or they grew the business, they started it, the business has been successful, and now they want to cash out and they want to use the money for something else. So not all of the reasons why someone sells a business is bad or because the business is in trouble. But here's the thing, it can often be bad. And it can often be because the business is in trouble. And so that's why it's so important that if you're looking at buying a business or an existing business, that you make sure you know exactly how to do due diligence on that business. Now, I'm curious, have you ever owned a business before? Drop me a comment below and let me know. I'd love to know what kind of business that you've owned. Even if it was a little side hustle like walking dogs, mowing lawns, selling Tupperware. That's an inside joke, by the way. My mom sold Tupperware for a long time. So my first business was actually mowing lawns. I mowed my neighbor's lawn, and then I wound up mowing some other people's lawns, and then I actually wound up starting a landscaping company, and I was 18 years old. In my first month, I did $4,000. But getting back to it, if you want to start a business to grow and sell it, that could be fun, right? Like imagine that you started a business, it only cost you $10,000 to get the business up and going. You grew that business to profiting $50,000 a year, and then you wind up selling the business for $150,000. How cool would that be? So in my 7-step blueprint to business profits in 60 days, I share exactly how you can create a profitable business in any industry at any time. And this was actually the same formula that I used to get our California location profitable, generating over $30,000 in sales only our second month in business. So make sure you go grab it. You can get it from my website. It's totally free. So go to TarekJohnson.com. You can get it there. I'll also leave a link in the description below. But we've had over 600 people who've grabbed that free blueprint. And there's some people that are already growing successful businesses because of that blueprint. So while you're down there, don't forget to hit the little subscribe button as well. So here's the deal. I sold the store in California for a couple of reasons. Now, reason number one was it was so far away. I mean, living in Florida and owning a franchise 2,500 miles away, I'll be honest, it stressed me out. Here's the thing, the plan was never to open the store and move all the way across the country, but we did. So the management of the store in California was so dependent on my store manager. I mean, he basically did everything. And if he left or if something happened, it's not like I could just hop in the car and drive over there. It was a 6-hour plane ride. And I was working a full-time job and had another franchise location in Florida. So the idea of that gave me a lot of anxiety. The worry about something happening, my manager leaving, and me having to make an unexpected trip out to California. So the second reason was minimum wage. So the other thing was that California's minimum wage kept increasing. Now, I realize this is a controversial topic, but here's the reality. A juice bar, a restaurant, a food business. These businesses don't operate on high profit margins. If you think about a restaurant business, the only way a restaurant business is able to actually make money is because restaurant workers get paid a special minimum wage related to restaurants and they get paid off of tips. My juice bar business wasn't like that. Although my employees got tips, we were paying them an actual wage. So when I first opened our location in California, the minimum wage was $10 an hour. It quickly went up to $10.50 an hour. And eventually by the time I sold the store just a couple of years later, it was $12 an hour and it was going up to $13 an hour in just a few months. And eventually in California, it's scheduled to go to $15 an hour. Now, we already had some of the most expensive prices in our store for our juices and smoothies. They weren't cheap. So there's only so much we could raise our prices without it really just starting to be ridiculous. And the point here is not to get in a debate around minimum wage with you guys, but the reality is it impacted my business and the decisions that I made in my business. So if minimum wage wasn't going up so aggressively in California, there's a high likelihood I actually probably would have kept the store there. I want you to just think about this for a second, and this is not, again, to create any sort of argument around minimum wage, because I think there's some really valid discussions on both sides of things. But having been a small business owner, running a business that operated off of very tight margins, if my payroll was $125,000 a year and minimum wage went up 10%, then that means that I'm paying $12,000 more a year, $12,500, and it comes straight out of my bottom line. All right, so here's the next reason that I sold the business is that I wasn't there, and I wasn't there to help. So although I had a great team, there's only so much my store manager could actually do working 35, 40 hours a week. I mean, his job was really around the operations of the store, the hiring, the firing, the managing the food costs, the ordering, the inventory, the scheduling. The missing gap was actually getting out there in marketing. And the original thought about opening up a franchise was that this franchise location was 10 minutes from my wife and I's house. We wanted to be involved in the local community, impact the local community, and very selfishly, we wanted to be able to get juice and smoothies very quickly being close to our home. So once we sold the store, it just really didn't have the same pizzazz or effect. The idea wasn't to open a business and run it 2,500 miles away. So, but no one was doing the marketing and the community marketing in the store, and I felt like I was doing the store, the community, and the franchisor really a disservice. And the last reason why I sold the store is cashing out. I mean, it's everyone's dream, right? To create a successful business and then eventually sell that business and make a lot of money. Well, my wife and I had financed a store with a home equity line of credit. And so when we moved and sold our house in California, that loan was paid off and we now own the store outright. We had no loan on it. We owned it completely to our name. So selling the store meant we were going to be able to cash out and get our money back, which was super exciting. At that point, we could have used the money for anything we want. We had been really excited about the idea of buying a beach house that we could rent out and also use ourselves. So to get a few $100,000 wired into our account after we sold the store, it was really exciting and a relief. So thanks for sticking with me this long in the video. I also want to take a second to recognize you guys who actually watch until the end of the video, because believe it or not, a lot of people don't. But if you have a goal of becoming an entrepreneur, you should follow that dream. Here's the thing. Regret is the worst feeling in the world. I learned so much about business owning our franchises. I mean, it taught me a massive amount of business in a really short period of time. I couldn't possibly have learned it in school. Getting an advanced degree in business is great, but it's really all theory. I mean, until you actually experience and live it, that's what really matters the most. So you can keep reading business books and watching YouTube videos, but unless you actually go out there and take a risk and start your own business, then all of this information will do you no good. Because there's a common quote out there that's actually really inaccurate. It's that knowledge is power. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. So have you ever heard the phrase, if you don't use it, you lose it? Exactly. And make sure to go to my website and get the 7-step blueprint to business profits in 60 days so you can learn how to build a profitable business. Also, drop me a comment below and tell me what kind of business that you want to start, and I'll see you guys on the next one.